of the House Agricultural Committee is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Chair Lady. About 10 years ago, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development estimated that we in Congress needed to spend $26 billion on construction projects for repairing the nation's stock of aging housing. Unfortunately, Congress didn't do anything about that. After years of failing to address this problem, the current backlog of unfunded capital projects has now ballooned to an estimated $80 billion. These types of projects include things like repairing damaged roofs, replacing broken heating and air conditioning, and reconstructing aging sewage line, critical repairs that also affect the health and the safety of 1.2 billion families who are living in public housing units. And so, Mr. Bailey, I want to ask you, how do we get into a situation where we have an $80 billion backlog of public housing construction and projects? And specifically, how many public housing units are lost each year to this backlog? And Miss Bailey, I want to express to you, I'm very concerned about this. Public housing is how I got my start in politics. I represented all the basic large public housing in Atlanta as I launched my political career, so I'm very concerned about it. How many public housing units are lost each year to this $80 billion backlog? This is a major national issue.
Thank you so much for the question. I agree with you. Even before this crisis, families were struggling and our infrastructures were struggling. We have a massive underload. We are not properly resourcing the communities that have been locked out of opportunity for the entirety of our nation. We have constantly relied on affordable housing without rooting it in fair housing to lead the nation forward, exacerbating inequality. So we need a ton of investment, as you outlined, to address the public housing deficiencies all over our country. And what is important about using those resources to affect those deficiencies is the reality that the courage that Mrs. Edie used today in being here gives us an opportunity to help families just like hers have the God-given human dignity restored that they desperately need.
Right, and excellent answer. And we've got to draw more attention to helping those. It's public housing. That means it's congressional housing. It is what we in the public sector, and which is the federal government, which is HUD. This is our challenge to do. And so, my second question to you is, from what I understand, public housing authorities are not required to submit capital needs assessment for what projects need repair. I mean, you can't repair projects if you don't need which ones to repair. If that is correct, how does HUD keep track of the number of backlog projects, please?
I'd like to follow up to you.
Ms. Bailey, if you could answer that.
I'd like to follow up to you with the written response. I would say we have to make sure HUD is adequately funded because part of the challenges is that it lacks the technology and staffing people that it needs to effectively operate. HUD was massively defunded by the former administration, and we have to right now make sure HUD has every resource to continue to do all that Secretary Fudge is doing to address our nation's affordable housing crisis.
And do you know that there are people who started out in the public house and they're out there sleeping on the streets? I mean, in my district in Georgia, and we've been helping them. We've been saving them, and Mr. Waters and I and this committee have put together housing assistance, helping them with just the running water. Thank you, Madam Chairman, but this is a serious issue.
Thank you very much. The gentleman from